Hey everyone, welcome to your mat. Today's video is about alignment, and we're going to go over the alignment of downward facing dog pose or down dog. Before we get started with the ins and outs of alignment, there's two things that I want you to know. And one is downward dog and any posture in yoga is going to look different for every single body. Our bones are different, our bodies are different, they've been through different things. So you'll have to discern and pick and choose what aspects of this alignment make sense for you and what's just not working. And I'll give multiple options. And then the second thing that I want you to know is that alignment for each posture in yoga also depends on whether it's static or dynamic and what you're wanting to target. So a posture, of course, you can break it down into a ton of little pieces when you're just staying in that posture, but most of the time we're moving in and out of postures. So really the alignment is to make you more aware of the movement aspect of yoga. So it's kind of funny that we slow it down and work just on this little piece of it in order to get the whole more complete. So downward dog specifically is going to look different whether you're trying to target the lower spine or the hamstrings or both. If you're trying to target the shoulders. So as you look at alignment, don't get too much tunnel vision. It is up to you, as always, to make the posture what you want it to be, to give you the feeling that you want to feel in that posture. So don't take anything too seriously, but here are a few tips. Okay, you should only need your mat. No props. So first of all, I've had teachers tell me to determine the distance, the proper distance between hands and feet for downward dog. You should do child's pose to measure. So just a normal child's pose. And then don't move the hands and the feet and the distance there. Just come up, curl the toes, and lift back to downward dog. See if that feels okay for your body. I personally like to walk my feet a little further forward. Notice how that feels. And then lower back down. That gives you a general idea of the distance, but remember what I said, each body is different. So if you have really long arms and really short legs or vice versa or something else, it may not work for you that way. So another way I explain it is you want it to look like an equilateral triangle. So same distance from the heels to the hips to the hands, and then between the hands and the feet. So try that out. You could always record yourself or have someone take a photo so you could see. But it's not how it looks, it's how it feels. Come back down after trying that, and we'll start to break it down even further. One of the most common errors in downward dog is not being able to go back far enough, and it ends up looking like a half plank, half downward dog. So it might look something like this. So if you're feeling like you have to really hold yourself up, it's taking a lot of arm strength and a lot of ab strength, and you're just not getting a stretch on the legs, you need to try to lean the hips back, push the ground away with the hands, lean the hips back, push the heels of the feet towards the ground. And if your body is not letting you push back far enough, then it's probably, I'm guessing, hamstring shortening. So bend your knees and then push back. See if that helps you. All right. So that's a big thing for folks, is just bending the knees until you warm up more in your practice. whether it's within that hour practice or over the course of months or years. Okay, we'll break down each body part now. You want the second toes of the feet facing forward, so look back at your feet when you do it and make sure all the toes are facing forward. Now, if they're not, don't just turn the toes forward from the ankle or from the lower leg. Turn it from way up high at the hip. Turn the whole leg. Turn the whole leg. So pick up that foot, turn it. Turn the leg. Pick up the other foot, turn it. Turn the leg. That should end up making your sits bones, those bony parts of our hips that we sit on and we feel when we sit, that should make those feel like they're spreading apart, like a Y shape. They're broadening the space between them. Then, should our heels be down or should they be up? It doesn't matter. Isn't that refreshing? Some lineages of yoga will tell you that your heels need to be down. There is more of an energetic reason for that because when you make contact with something, you have more of a closed loop and you get more feedback and energy isn't lost. However, if that's sacrificing the rest of your alignment in your downward dog, maybe you look like this with your heels down, then walk it back. Let your heels hover. Some people just have really tight, short calf muscles or Achilles tendons. But either way, the heels should be yearning for the ground. They should be reaching for the ground, and you should feel a calf stretch. Legs are straight and strong. If you have a tendency to hyperextend the knees, then keep a soft bend in the knees. It's always a good idea to keep a soft bend in the joints if you're unsure. I'm going to come down. Okay. The next question is more about the upper body. Should it look like a big back bend in the upper body or should it not? This is where that static versus dynamic aspect of the postures comes in, and the question of what are we trying to lengthen here and what are we trying to strengthen. So if you wanted more of a heart opening, chest opening, shoulder stretching and opening practice of this posture, then you could let your head come between your arms and shorten the distance from your upper body to your lower body. So this is going to make your down dog look really short, even though we haven't changed the distance between hands and feet. In this case, you still need to reach the tailbone up, tilt the tailbone up towards the sky. If that's not possible, bend your knees. And you might even be able to go back so far that the head lowers. Now, if you're a hyperextender of the arms, and the arms get a weird bow shape to them, then put a soft bend in the elbows. Keep a little bubble in the armpits, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. So don't collapse the armpits down, okay? That's good for everyone to keep in mind. Before I get to that though, if you're talking more of static downward dog alignment, trying to get equal opening in the upper body and the lower body, the hamstrings and the shoulders and the chest, you'll keep the head between the arms. The neck might get very stiff here, so just shake it out like a bell, side to side, forward and back, and let it dangle. Of course, this is still quite a bit of arm strength. You have to push away the floor with your hands in either version. The opening of the ear should line up with the arms. All right. So the next couple of tips, which are pretty much my final tips, they take some practice because most of us aren't used to all the little muscles of the shoulders and the upper back. So it's going to take some time to awaken mental awareness and control over those muscles. So I'll show you a big picture first. Remember what I said about collapsing into the armpits? We can prevent that by backing off, coming forward a little bit towards plank, and then puffing the elbows out to the sides, puffing the shoulder blades a little more broad. So it's like a breeze. If you're more of like a visual or descriptive learner, it's like a breeze comes up underneath the arm, and that gust of wind lifts you up. So that instead of looking like this, where you can almost see the ball of my humerus coming forward and pushing things forward, we are keeping integrity in the joint. And funnily enough, it helps if you cup your hand like you're catching a ball, because that mimics the shape we're trying to get here, more of a pit in the armpit. You can practice that in hands and knees, and it might be easy for you. Practice that in puppy pose before you try it with all this weight on the arms. Okay, the next tip is going to seem somewhat contradictory to that, so try out both these exercises and see what you think you might need. Now, a lot of us in downward dog get lazy in the whole length of the arm and we just collapse into the bone structure. So look at the elbows here. Pits of elbows are coming forward. I'm hyperextending a little bit. I don't really feel much muscular engagement at all. So, a great exercise for this is to bend the elbows and then suck the elbows towards each other. We're working on some external rotation of the shoulders. So from way up here, bend the elbows and tuck them in towards the sides, and then keep that straight in the arms. You'll get a corkscrew feeling in the wrists, so just keep grounding down through the knuckles, the tips of each finger, and then the base of each finger. So we don't change the hands at all. If anything, we just remind them to push down more through the pointer finger and the thumb. Once you've got that down, let's try some scapular push-ups. Keep the arms like that and push the ground away with your arms. Nothing else really changes too much. Then make a valley, then push. Valley between the shoulder blades, and then push and round between the shoulder blades. Shoulder blades moving into protraction as you push the floor away. This is to get used to that idea of pushing the ground away in downward dog. All right, so we're ready to come up into full downward dog. Bend your elbows, suck them in, straighten the arms, curl the toes under. Legs do whatever they need to do for you as you come back. And then if you sort of lost the arms here in downward dog, bend the elbows slightly, tuck them in like you're squeezing a beach ball, and then straighten. This might get rid of some pinching feelings in the arms. All right, lastly, thank you for sticking with me. This is very in-depth. When you're in downward dog, Notice what the ribs are doing, especially if we're laying into the more front body opening in the torso, laying into that back bendy type version. We need to couple that with squeezing and knitting the front ribs in. So clamp those towards each other, both sides of the lower ribs towards each other, engaging the upper core. And arms want to be about shoulder distance, hands shoulder distance. If you take them wider, you might be putting yourself at risk of some pinching in the shoulder. Feet are hip distance or a little bit wider. Outer hip distance is what feels good for me. Lastly, again, you can tilt the tailbone up if possible. And beware of overly rounding the low back. So try some pelvic tilts in your downward dog. Hamstrings will limit this quite a bit though, so be mindful of those. All right. Great job. Thank you for taking the time to learn a little bit more about your practice so you can have more longevity in your practice and in every other physical thing that you do in your life. Thank you for learning more about your body. If any of this helped you, make sure you let me know what helped you specifically in the comments below. Like this video if you really did like it, and subscribe to my channel so you know when I do more videos like this one. Thank you so much. Have a great day.